What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about Ethereum and do a little bit of an Ethereum deep dive as we are expecting a potential decision here on the ETF approval. Whether it gets approved or denied, I want to dive deep into the charts with you guys and talk about some key levels that we need to be keeping our eye on and talk about the situation with the price action and where we're sitting right now. Talk about those key levels we need to break to get to the upside. And then if the ETFs are approved and we do wind up seeing that big move up, I want to talk about some of those top price targets we can look at if we do wind up breaking those all-time highs. And then at the end of the video, guys, I will go over the bearish case here in case we do get some kind of a surprise denial or delay of these ETFs, because that obviously will have a reaction in the market, and it's not impossible to come down, especially because Ethereum is approaching key resistance. This is kind of decision time here. So I want to break down the charts with you guys, take a look at those key levels, and more importantly, those top targets to the upside. I know that's why most of you guys are here, but I'm going to break it all down in today's video. So buckle up, Mafia. It's going to be a good one. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. So as you guys know, we are awaiting the Ethereum ETF approval, which is why we'll go over both the bearish and bullish case in this video. But as you guys can see here from Cointelegraph, Ethereum ETF decision due in hours as BTC price gets $80,000 May target. We can actually go over the Bitcoin chart very briefly in this video as well, where we could talk about that target, because if you guys saw my Bitcoin deep dive, which we released during the Bitcoin ETF craze, we actually had an $80,000 to $81,000 price target if we broke those all-time highs. Now, obviously, we did just barely crack the all-time high and then came back down, so we haven't hit that target yet, but could this be the catalyst to finally get Bitcoin up to that target as well? I do think it could be possible, so I just wanted to start off with this article. For anybody who is not up to date on the news, this is kind of what's going on. Now, I am not an ETF expert. Obviously, I am a very technical trader, but these big high-impact news events do actually have a significant impact on the market. So for this video, I just wanted to kind of update you guys. You could search this up and Google it yourself if you want more information. So guys, before we actually jump into those higher time frame price targets and new all-time highs for Ethereum, I want to break down the local price action, as we know that these ETF approvals do not oftentimes just result in gigantic moves to the upside instantly. We can just simply go back to Bitcoin's ETF approval to look at that, and you can see as we had that Bitcoin ETF approval, we were approaching that macro Fibonacci golden pocket retracement between $48,000 and $50,000, and we did wind up getting the approval right into that key level of resistance, which did wind up resulting in about a 20% pullback. Now, although this was long-term bullish for Bitcoin, obviously, this is just proof that typically these news events don't just instantly yeet you to the upside. There is some kind of noise that needs to be worked out before we wind up getting that big impulse into new all-time highs, and Ethereum is in a very similar situation, and that's why I want to go over that local price action, as Ethereum could be in a similar situation as Bitcoin back here during its ETF approval. Although it is a little bit different, we have to be open to the fact that we're not just going to Lambo candle instantly on good news, if we even get it. So for that, let's come on over to the Ethereum chart, and I want to bring up our current TA here, or the current volume profile that I am looking at, which is sitting here between about 3,700 all the way down to about 3,221. Now, these are going to be the local levels of resistance in my own personal opinion, and if we do wind up seeing a pullback here, because remember, guys, once you deviate above that value area high, this is technically where we like to look for shorts. Now, not just instantly short, you need some kind of signal to go short here, but just general rules of the volume profile. Once you deviate, everybody gets super bullish. We're looking at this as a potential overvalued asset, and then where are you expecting price to go? You're expecting it to reverse back into that volume profile, reject the value area high, go to the POC, which happened, and then once you lose that POC, you look to go where? Right down to that value area low, and then vice versa. You just wind up bing-bonging around, creating and respecting that volume profile, which is why I love this tool so much. So if we do wind up getting the approval and a pullback just like Bitcoin, or we get or it gets delayed and we wind up getting a pullback, these are going to be the local levels of support I'm looking at, and the value area high is sitting at $3,700, POC sitting at just about $3,500, and then that value area low coming in at $3,221. And now I want to show you guys the line in the sand that, if broken, would actually make me anticipate lower prices for Ethereum. And very simply put, guys, you can see this high volume node where we were holding support for a little while down here before getting accepted back into this range. So if we do get a pullback, I'm not really going to be that bearish until we wind up coming back down to this value area low. But even here, I would be open to long positions, because we could just put in a higher low here. And to be honest, You guys now know this because I'm going to show you. We actually have a golden pocket retracement right on that value area low, meaning that if we are going to retrace on this big move to the upside, this would actually be somewhat of a likely level for that higher low to come in at, in my own personal opinion. Now, if price starts slipping the value area low and the 786, I will say this. If you wind up getting down to that level and you start losing that 786, and more importantly, these current lows that we have down here at about 2860, you guys can see once we get stuck underneath this high volume node, we actually do have a little bit of a gap down here, all the way down to about $2,600, where we also have a macro spider line flying right through, giving us even better confluence here on that level of support. So again, $2,600 would be very likely in the bearish case if we wind up getting that denial or the delay of the ETF, and we lose these range lows here, or we lose this current low that we have right down here. Very likely, in my opinion, to fly through that gap and then hit that, not only can you see your volume picks up at around $2,600, but you have that spider line acting as very nice support, which, by the way, has acted as support here, 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 and here. So it is definitely a reliable level of support, and just gives you really, really nice confluence to the downside. Now, I know that's not what everybody wants to hear. I'm not calling for that move down, but we have to be prepared for this, because remember, like we just showed, Bitcoin did pull back technically on that ETF approval, simply just, very likely people taking profits, right? Because you have to understand that a lot of what causes these big run-ups that we've already gotten is the anticipation of these financial products being released. So people buy up in that rumor and then they sell the news. Obviously, buy the rumor, sell the news. I know everybody's heard of that. This is definitely a real thing. So we have to at least be prepared for a situation like that. And very simply put, those are all the key levels to the downside that I will be looking at. Now let's get into the fun part of the video, guys, and that is the bullish case. And, again, even if we do get the pullback, it doesn't invalidate the bullish case, in my opinion, until we break these lows. But, if we get that bullish case to play out, what can we potentially anticipate here out of Ethereum? Are we going to see a break of that all-time high? And what is kind of going on here, right? So you guys can see here, we do have money flow crossovers into the green on the daily here. This is somewhat nice, in my opinion, right? I would like to see this money flow come up a little bit more, as this could just be a fake out. We also have a daily red dot potentially looking to print here. So again, really, you have to understand that we are at resistance here, and if we do see a pullback, it doesn't just invalidate the bigger move up, right? We have to understand that the market has noise, and the better you can understand that noise, the less you can panic when you get those pullbacks. Instead of saying, oh my God, what's happening? Is it going to zero? Should I close my longs? What's going on? You can understand the context, and you can simply have your key levels set below and those lines in the sand where you will flip bearish. But if you're not flipping those levels, there's no reason to flip bearish, because the higher statistic, the higher probability is going to be the continuation of that uptrend until you flip market structure or get an actual change of character. That's where you can start looking lower. So you have to have that little bit of a bearish case in here, not just to flip bearish, but just so you know that if you pull back, you know how long you can hold on to that bullish sentiment based off the local trend, and you have that line in the sand that you can just look at and be like, hey, once I break this, I am flipping bearish. I am no longer going to look for the higher low. So with that being said, guys, that is the local price action that I'm looking at. We do have some local levels of resistance up here. Obviously, we have a weekly naked point of control. We actually have a pocket of MPOCs sitting up here. So that's local resistance. But really, that's kind of more local, right? Like if we were to see some noise, I'm expecting this on lower time frames to give us noise. And even in a grander perspective here, guys, you can see we are technically at resistance. We're at the top of this macro volume profile from the bull market. And just approaching the previous all-time high is likely going to give us some kind of resistance, just like it did on Bitcoin. You can see we approach that all-time high, we bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, and then we drop down. So we obviously going to expect some resistance at these all-time highs. But let's say the ETF gets approved, we smash that all-time high, and we go into that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing that we call price discovery. Where can we be looking? And there is a few different prices I'm looking at, guys. It's kind of one general range, but I use two tools for this. I use spider lines and Fibonacci extension levels to find these price predictions, and these are realistic in my opinion if we do break that all-time high. So let's pull up those spider lines and take a look at what we're working with here, guys. And you can see here, let me come up to the weekly time frame just so I can get a little bit of a kind of condensed view here. If we do get that break to the upside, guys, you can see our next spider lines are sitting right here. We have a nice little pocket of spider lines sitting right there, and depending on how quickly we approach them, if you were to approach them right now, like in just one straight Lambo candle, which I don't think is very likely, but if you were to do that, right, this starts at about $5,600 and then trends all the way up to your higher spider line, which gets you very, very close to that even psychological $7,000 mark for Ethereum. Is this possible? Definitely, in my opinion, it market is, as long as we can do the work that is necessary to break above these local resistance levels in the all-time high. In my opinion, that next level of resistance is very likely going to come in on these spider lines, and it's not just the spider lines, guys. If we pull up those Fibonacci extension levels, you guys can see here the first kind of pocket of Fibonacci extensions that we have here are sitting between about $6,500 and $5,700, give or take. Obviously, give or take a few bucks here. You're never gonna get it to the dollar, but this zone of resistance is going to be big, and a big part of that, guys, is the fact that we do have the confluence here with those extension levels and those spider lines flying right through. So just naturally, if we break above that 786, crack that all-time high, this is likely going to be the next range that we get caught up in my own personal opinion. Now, we do also have another Fibonacci extension level here, so technically we can make this a little bit of a bigger zone. And that does bring you all the way up to a $7,300 Ethereum, which could be very, very exciting. And again, guys, there's really nothing in the way, right? Once you break that all-time high, there's really nothing in your way other than these spider lines and Fibonacci extension levels. So again, this is very simply put going to be that next zone that I would be looking for price to go to. Can we hit it? That's another story. But once we get past that all-time high and we officially break out with volume and get that impulse, I do think that's where we're going to wind up getting stuck. And then I don't want to get like Moon Boy on you here, but just above that, I mean, once you break above those spider lines and those Fibonacci extension levels, that next kind of zone is sitting between $9,000 and $11,000 for Ethereum. Now, I am not calling for a $10,000 Ethereum right now, but I'm just saying, just because the levels are on the chart, you know, this could wind up taking a long time to get past, right? We might bang our head here, come back down, and then eventually come back up, right? The price action is going to be messy, but once you break above these spider lines, like, you are creeping up into those much higher prices for Ethereum. But the realistic target, in my opinion, if you see some crazy move up here based off the ETF, is definitely going to be to get into that zone. And one last time, sitting between 73.63 and 57.39. And you guys can see here down on Market Cipher B, we actually do have a fresh weekly green dot, which does typically make us anticipate another move to the upside. So this would technically be a pretty good sign in my own personal opinion. You know, just historically, these green dots do wind up giving you big moves up, especially when you have a little bit of a cool off and then you get that green dot. Typically, you will get a pretty decent move to the upside. So we do have a lot of things pointing in the right direction here, guys. But please, you know, if there's one thing that I really want to stress to everybody, is price action is messy, and that's why I talk about the market structure and the money flow, and the key levels to the downside and the lines in the sand, because this is very important. Because I think what a lot of people struggle with is, you know, as soon as price pulls back, everybody gets super bearish when they're really just seeing a small retracement that is likely to result in a higher low and a continuation up. And if you're out there and you're feeling that, you're probably a victim of this. And that's why I try to explain this stuff on these videos and in the live streams every single weekday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let me know in the comments down below, guys. Do you think Ethereum is headed up towards that $5,000 to $7,000 range if the ETF is approved? Do you think it's going to yeet up today when we get the news if it gets approved? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know in the comments down below. And with all that being said, hopefully this helps you guys out. And that's all the time I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. ETH to the moon. Frankie Candles out.
Go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah, we winning by